On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we have good show for you guys. Obviously talked about all the football news, the two new transfers coming in, two big-time additions at defensive back for Mizzou. Payton, spoiler alert, one of them is now Payton's favorite transfer of the offseason. So definitely want to stick around and listen to that. We talked about those two to start the show and then did the Auburn recap. As painful as it was, hey, Mizzou covered. Great teams cover. And, we talked about kind of our takeaways, things Mizzou can kind of learn from playing a team like that and how it'll look going forward. And then, of course, previewed LSU as well with the Tigers coming to Columbia. Mizzou looking for its first win after 21 straight defeats in SEC play. And another spoiler alert, we kind of think they can do it. So previewed LSU, recapped Auburn, talked football transfers, had a great quick hit segment, did our usual quizzes, talked some NFL, with, of course, Week 18 wrapping up and a couple other Mizzou things as well. A little Mizzou women's basketball talk. Another spoiler alert, they also have a bad streak of losing in the SEC that continued on Sunday. So, plenty to dive into. Really good show for you guys to get your week started as we look ahead to Mizzou LSU. So enjoy it. Dive right in. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, January 6th, and Mizzou listened to Payton's calls, begging for a cornerback, begging for some secondary help right after Kenny instantly explained that Mizzou needed some secondary help. Go listen to one of our last few episodes where we talked about that. But Payton, Mizzou listened. Mizzou got a couple DBs in the transfer portal. That's where we're starting things off today's show. We're obviously going to get into the Auburn recap and look ahead to LSU for hoops as well. But I wanted to start on the football front because these are two big additions for Mizzou football. If you were living under a rock, the Tigers added a pair of transfer defensive backs. Stephen Hall, they got a couple of days ago on January 4th from Washington State, and Jalen Catalon out of UNLV, also formerly of Texas and Arkansas, if you're keeping track of all of his schools. So a couple of big additions, Payton, and we'll go in chronological order just to talk about them. We'll start with Hall. 50 tackles last year, 3 pass deflections, 1 interception in his junior season at Washington State. Also, if I might add, had one of the funniest pick sixes I've ever seen. Where we tweeted it out. Go give us a follow on Twitter for that. But had a 100-yard pick six, and I was looking at his stats. I was like, oh, I'll find the video of that and tweet it. That'll do well. And it is, just go watch it. It's sort of hard to explain how kind of comical it is. But Payton, Stephen Hall coming in as a corner addition for Mizzou. Kenny as well. How are you guys feeling about this guy coming in from Wazoo? I was going to say a Power 5 transfer, but I guess it's not anymore with Wazoo not being in the Pac-12. But still, I think this is a guy, looks like statistically he's going to be a big help. Likely in your eyes competing for a starting job next year?
I mean, definitely. I mean, I've been saying over and over, I think their biggest need, besides obviously a quarterback, was going to be in this position group. And Stephen Hall, I mean, it, like you said, not technically a Power 5 guy anymore, but just 2 years ago, it was a Power 5 school. And I mean, he was a big part of a secondary that really kind of was completely revamped. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that the kind of calling card of Wazoo was their air raid offense, kind of trying to mitigate however many points Wazoo's defense would give up on a given night. But Stephen Hall, he was a big part of turning that around. I'm sure Kenny will get into more about his leadership and everything as well. But definitely a guy that has a lot of experience. He played at the JUCO level. He may have multiple years of eligibility remaining, which is a big help for Mizzou as well. And look, Dre Norwood was okay, but he's probably about as bad a CB1 as you'll find in the SEC. I was not a big fan of how Toriano Pride and Nick Deloach did, kind of opposite of him at that CB2 spot. So getting someone that can at least compete for the starting spot will be a big help for them. Kind of play their way in the top four. Definitely a good addition from that front. I'd still like to see them get one more guy for this room at least, especially after losing another player to the portal from that group who we'll get into later. But Stephen Hall, definitely a good addition for them. Hopefully not the end of additions to that room, but a necessary one either way.
Kenny, what do you like about Hall?
It seemed like Missouri was attracted to Wazoo defensive backs. They offered Adrian Wilson as well. He was a safety. He got on campus right before the NCAA dead period, and it really just didn't work out. It seemed like, there was a better option elsewhere, and he went to Arizona State. So something attracted Mizzou to the production from those secondary guys up there in Washington State. And for Stephen Hall, he's on the older side. If he does get that second year of eligibility, that would be huge for that corner room. And I think it's a good thing too that Mizzou is like welcoming competition. It's always been a huge thing that Drinkwitz has pushed these past couple of years. They're not afraid of competition. If they have multiple guys that can start, that's awesome. Right? That's what they want. They want to be able to have guys taking each other's jobs, be able to step up when someone else doesn't. And you saw that this year with Nicholas Deloach. I think coming into the year, I think it was, a lot of us were confident in saying that we didn't expect Nicholas Deloach to have a huge, presence on the team, but then they started to hear a little bit more in camp that he was performing well and took starts from Toriano Pride. And I think just, kind of going into this next year, having a guy with, has played at multiple levels. He wore a C on his jersey at Washington State. Doesn't mean he's going to be a captain at Mizzou, but there are definitely leadership qualities there for him as well. And it kind of just brings a full package of what Mizzou needed at that cornerback room.
The Diego Pavia rule might benefit Mizzou, of course, giving JUCO players that extra year of eligibility. If this guy, sticks and can have an extra one, that'll be huge. Kenny, do you agree with Payton's assessment now? This is obviously a good addition. You mentioned the leadership stuff. Clearly a guy who, like Payton said, is at the very least going to compete for a starting role. Do you agree in that you'd like to see one or maybe two more corners, whether I guess, maybe that comes in the late transfer period now, but I feel like it's a position room we've talked about before where this team, just needs bodies. Obviously, the better quality of player you can get, great. But, are you in agreement kind of that's still an area you'd like to see them pursue going forward in addition to getting a guy like Hall?
Yeah, first off, too, I think for a guy like Hall going to a school like this when it might be his final year, I don't think he would enter a situation where there isn't an opportunity to compete for a starting job or an opportunity to even start. So I think that's a big thing that you kind of know there that, he will be in that mix with those guys coming in spring camp. But there are other guys out there still, and it's not even just the next transfer window. There's still an opportunity to add a corner right now. Fred Davis is a guy I've talked to. He's bounced around. He was a big time recruit a couple years ago. He went to Clemson, barely played at UCF. No one really knows the real reason why that happened. But then was at Jacksonville State and had a pretty decent year as a physical tackler. That's what Coach Pogue told him that he liked about him, the cornerbacks coach from Missouri. Maybe a guy that, they look at, he's looked at Virginia Tech, West Virginia, and then Mizzou. It's like one part of the country and then Missouri. So if there's still, as of right now, it's like 83, 84 scholarships, depending on what Tristan Newsome will do if he's going to return next season because he got an extra year of eligibility, or will he just kind of explore elsewhere, call it a college career? You don't know exactly yet, but it's something in that 83, 84 range. So could add someone right now. And then there's, another one out there that's Tamarcus Cooley from North Carolina State, who played a little bit of safety, played a little bit of slot corner, just kind of how the Wolfpack ran their defense and where he lined up. But according to his agency, he's looking to visit Missouri later this week. So still guys out there that Mizzou's trying to add before enrollment starts later this month.
I have a general question for both of you guys before we obviously talk about the other addition, Jalen Catalon, that Kenny, you just triggered in me. When you guys look at, portal candidates out there just in general, or whether it's guys Mizzou's linked to, and, Kenny, maybe you could provide insight too on kind of what this staff looks for. Do you guys like players who, you see play multiple positions, like Kenny said, whether it's like a slot corner and a safety, or do you like, when you look at quarters for Mizzou, them when they come in the portal, were they just a corner at their school, or do you like someone maybe with some more positional versatility? Because I feel like I've noticed that in the SEC, like teams are kind of trending toward, they like to have kind of that those versatile secondaries, especially like those 4-2-5 defenses that put so many DBs on the field. You like to have a lot of guys that could do like different things. What do you guys think about that in terms of, when you're looking at some of these portal guys?
That's an interesting question because, I don't really think it's super common. You kind of get a guy that kind of is going to play a lot of positions on the defensive side. Most of the time when you're getting to your guy, like Stephen Hall is going to play straight corner. Like maybe he'll play a little slot, maybe he'll play only outside. Who really knows? But typically you don't see guys kind of rotate around a lot. Like Dalen Carnell's a little different being the star, and they have kind of the new wrinkle with the Joker position, with what they, I think, wanted Darius Smith to do a lot. They can move around a bit, but it's not super common. I really don't care one way or the other too much. Tamarcus Cooley, I think, is probably more of a corner, but like Kenny said, it probably is more just because the Wolfpack had such probably a unique role for him on their kind of defense because it's just a different scheme for them. Tony Gibson, their defensive coordinator, is the new Marshall head coach, so I really can't speak on how his defense operates or how Cooley really played in it, but if he can play multiple spots, that can only be a plus. I mean, it really can't be a negative. You do kind of maybe get into that jack of all trades, master of none debate. But either way, I think for someone like just if we're talking about Cooley, having that versatility can only help because safety and corner, I think, were two of their bigger needs coming into the portal. So if he can maybe be a little bit of a hybrid or just play one or the other, that's a plus.
Yeah, versatility never hurts. And I think, Jack, to your point, talking about, different positions around the SEC, no matter what you call it, the star or the anchor or whatever Vanderbilt calls their positions, it's just one of those things where it's just so many hybrid, opportunities. It kind of takes me back to what Corey Batoon talked about at the end of the season. He's like, we don't really talk about scheme. They're looking to fit the players, fit to the players, adapt to the players. It's not always the players adapting to the system. If they can't get guys and that'll be Ennis Rakestraw or be Chris Abrams-Drain, how do you adapt your defense to them than rather them having to catch up and adapt to the defense you have in place? It's just one of those things where you kind of adapt to the players and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I kind of asked that too, because I think Corey Batoon is, one of those types of coaches. He comes from that Kane Womack staff. That's what they did at South Alabama was, they like to have guys who are versatile and could play all over the field. I mean, you see, you brought up Dalen Carnell, Payton. I mean, you see how valuable he could be to Mizzou, being that versatile guy. And yeah, I'm not saying it has to be everyone. You guys are totally right. You do probably want a couple of those, especially corner for Mizzou specifically, a couple of those guys that are just shut down corners. You throw them out there. That's what they do. Like Kenny said, like Payton said, the master of one trait instead of a jack of all trades. But I think it's interesting in terms of, potentially some of these guys that they evaluate in the secondary going forward. But one more guy, of course, that they did bring in here just a couple of days ago on Saturday, Jalen Catalon, I mentioned out of UNLV. He was also at Texas and spent 4 years at Arkansas. So he's on the good side of the border war, not the border war, excuse me, wrong rivalry, the battle line rivalry. He's on the right side there now, but really, really productive season at UNLV last year under, of course, former Mizzou head coach Barry Odom. 96 tackles, 4 pass deflections, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 5 interceptions. He was an All-America third-team selection by the Associated Press. Excellent pedigree, guys. It seems like he's bringing to that, I believe, free safety position. What do y'all like about Jalen Catalon, a Barry Odom product back in Columbia?
This one is honestly really exciting. I think it's my favorite portal edition they've had so far, really. This guy, when he's healthy, is just a flat-out stud. I had no idea, really, that he was even eligible still. I had no idea he had a 6th year. I thought he was in the draft. Our good friend, 7th year? Oh, my gosh. He's played a lot of football, but it makes sense. I mean, he's been banged up a lot. Our good friend Jacob Infante, who we've had on the show in the past, actually said, he had a draftable grade. He had a 5th-round grade on him. The problem for Jalen Catalon has really always been his health. He's been hurt a lot. It kind of derailed his career at Arkansas. I think it derailed his career at Texas. But, I mean, like you said, Knowlton, Barry Odom obviously liked what he saw at Arkansas, took him out of the portal at UNLV, and he blossomed. It's not every day Missouri can just stealthily get a third-team All-American onto campus and have him committed within 48 hours of him stepping on campus. So, I mean, that's the third safety commit for them, I believe. Yeah, with Phillips and Banner also in the fold. So I think they're done there easily. And I was very concerned about what the safety room was going to look like after getting no guys in the high school class. But props to this defensive staff. They have completely rebuilt the safety room, a room that is losing Sidney Williams, Trevez Johnson, and Joseph Charleston, had uneven play from Marvin Burks. We'll see where Catalon, Banner, and Phillips all slot in. I would think Catalon kind of takes over more as that free safety type. He's just, I mean, 5 interceptions last year. I know one was against Kansas, so people are going to love that. Hopefully, he has a repeat performance this year. Had a pick 6, just an all Mountain West Conference first teamer. Jalen Catalon, when he's healthy, is an absolute stud. I mean, this is a draft pick. Missouri basically just got out of the portal. So really exciting stuff there. I love this edition. Definitely my favorite one so far.
I think one of the big things that jumps off the page too, Payton, with him being that ball hawk and, having 5 interceptions this past year and tied for the most in the Mountain West, no matter what the conference is, being at the top in interceptions is massive. I don't feel like you just didn't really see many interceptions this past season. And the Missouri defense has thrived off of, chaos and turnovers and, even, going back to Blake Baker's time, and still a lot of the staff is there from when Blake Baker was the DC. That's what this defense was kind of known for. They call it death row defense, and its ability to cause kind of like that chaos. And I think this will be really good and beneficial to that secondary to force those turnovers and have a guy just flying around hitting people and taking balls out of the air. And I think that's a big advantage from getting Jalen Catalon.
Yeah, the tackling numbers are almost what stands out to me. I mean, like 96 tackles as a safety, is really impressive to your point, Kenny. I mean, he seems like he kind of craves the contact a little bit. And, at first you look at his numbers and you're like, oh, what went wrong at Texas and Arkansas that he's, bounced around this much. And then you realize he was super productive and it was just a lot of injury stuff. So hopefully Mizzou can keep him healthy because this guy seems like an incredible addition to a secondary that needed one, like Payton said at the top. I don't know if you guys have any other just final thoughts there. Maybe portal moving forward. I know the window is technically, Kenny, correct me if I'm wrong, the window is technically closed now for Missouri with the bowl game rule, right? Because it was January 4th.
Yeah, players from Missouri can no longer transfer out, but anyone can transfer in.
Right.
There's no rules regarding that. It's just it seems like you want to get everyone on campus before early enrollment starts.
Right. Yeah, you want to get that done early. Peyton, you got other thoughts on Catalon or portaling in general?
I mean, just one last thing on Catalon. I mean, PFF has him at 888 defensive snaps. A lot of green on there. Just a 78.3 overall grade, the 118th ranked safety in the nation, which doesn't sound impressive until you realize just how many safeties there are playing this damn football game. 78 coverage grade, 72 pass rush grade. Like you said, Knowlton, 96 total tackles, 61 solo tackles. I mean, this guy was everywhere. The play is not the question. It's the health. Like you said, they have got to figure out a way to just keep him healthy, and I think they have a stud.
Yeah, this is a super, super exciting addition, I think. So Jalen Catalon, I think he's my number 2 behind Ahmad Hardy. I'm so excited for Ahmad Hardy in that running back spot. I think he's going to be great. But yeah, this is going to be really, really big for Mizzou's safety room. So yeah, a couple transfers to recap: Jalen Catalon, Stephen Hall, bolstering that Mizzou secondary. And like Kenny said, the time for portal entry for Mizzou is done, but we did hint we'll have talk about one a little bit later on. For now, I think that's a good segue. We got football off-season stuff, the latest news. Let's talk some hoops because Mizzou got SEC play started on Saturday. We tried to give the best forewarning we could about what might happen against Auburn. However, I'm going to start with a bright spot, gentlemen, because the Missouri Tigers did not win, but damn it, they covered. 18.5-point spread. They lost by 16 to the Auburn Tigers on the road in Neville Arena. This Auburn team is damn good. We were aware of that, but great teams cover. So I want to give Missouri props to that off the jump. That said, obviously a loss is a loss, and it was, a loss by some hefty sum. I think we talked plenty about Auburn and how good they were in the previews. So, if you didn't watch the game, you can go listen to that if you want to find out more about them. But Payton, I'll go to you first. And I want to ask you specifically, when we kind of evaluate, maybe what Mizzou can learn from this and how they can build. I want to ask you first about the starting lineup, because it was a rough day, at least from the box score watch from the starting lineup. I think the most damning stat is Janai Broom, Auburn star, outscoring that unit in general. What was maybe not clicking? Because there were, and I want to get to it, some good moments from some individuals here, but starting group as a whole, not a great showing in Mizzou's first road game in SEC play.
Yeah, I mean, what happened there was they went against Auburn's starting five, and Auburn's starting five is literally the Avengers of college basketball. I'm so serious. I've never seen a team like that. Look, man, sometimes you have to throw your hands up and say whatever. I mean, like Janai Broom is going to win the Wooden Award this year, and he just patrolled the paint. No one in the starting lineup had any success against him. Honestly, the person that had the most success against him was probably Marcus Allen, and Marcus Allen wasn't fantastic against him either. Mark Mitchell, I mean, he was not good in this one, nor did I really expect him to be. His game is really at its best when he's able to drive to the paint and kind of just bully his way, take advantage of matchups, and get to the line. He was not ever going to be able to do that against Auburn or Janai Broom. Tamar Bates was hot early. He went cold. He didn't make anything from deep. That really, to me, coming out of this game, I'm concerned about very little because I just think Auburn is that good. The one thing that does concern me a little bit, and it's because kind of we were a little concerned about it coming into the year, the shooting from deep is just not great right now. It's 7 for 23, and it was worse than that until Jacob Cruz made a few late. So that's kind of the one thing coming out of this game that concerns me a little. I didn't like in particular how Ant or Caleb Grill played either. But again, Caleb Grill's coming off an injury. That was his second game back. Ant just was sick. Maybe he's still kind of recovering from that. I don't really come out of this game mad at anyone that much. It was just a game that they were completely overmatched in. And there's still nothing really changes after that game. Missouri did not fall at all. They actually went up in Torvik rating after this game. Ken Palm, they didn't suffer too much. Auburn's really good, man. I mean, did you see some of the threes they were hitting? It's the most ridiculous team I've ever seen.
Kenny, I'll kind of throw like a similar thing to you. Like maybe your overarching takeaway, or maybe an area of concern, with the obvious caveat that this is Auburn, and any minor area of concerns even are going to be amplified by how good this team is. But what did you take away from this game?
I think just one of the big ones that just jumped off the page to me was just layups and shots from in the paint. Payton mentioned the poor shooting percentages there, but at the same time they just weren't scoring down low, and it was just one thing that just kept popping off the page. And Payton even texted right away. Like Teo Barrett had a layup, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, it just was a poor shot selection. Tried to go through the defender, didn't draw a foul or anything, and it was like you were playing on 2K and you were like holding X for too long and you just shot it and missed. Like, it was just kind of like a ridiculous selection there. And I think one of the biggest things that I mentioned, coming into this is, there might be a smaller amount of guys that'll be like the leading scorer. It's not going to be like a new guy every night that's going to, Marcus Warwick isn't going to drop 19. And he ended up dropping 19. He was a leading scorer for the Tigers. The only one to go into double figures. And I think that's something that just kind of, even though it was a blowout loss, Missouri didn't really stand a chance there after the first half. But I think that's still a good sign that someone like Marcus Warwick, who wasn't in that starting five, can step up and nearly put up 20.
Payton, what did you like about Marquez Warwick? Because that's where I was going to go next. 19 points, 3 rebounds, couple of assists. He was +9. One of, I think, if I'm counting quickly, 5 Mizzou players who are. I'm a big, by the way, just going forward for the season, I'm a big box plus minus guy. I like looking at that as an indicator for how well you actually played, because I think you have a lot of nights where players score and aren't actually that effective in the game. Anyway, what did you like about Marquez Warwick? And maybe some of those other guys, you mentioned Marcus Allen struggling a little bit against Janai Broom, but I saw some good moments from him. Would you like about maybe some of those players that were more positive from Missouri?
Well, Warwick was, I think, truly the one guy who I would point at and say had a good game. And that's really encouraging because I think there was a little bit of a question of, okay, this guy has come off the bench and given them a little life on offense a few times this year, but it's been against normally some rather weaker opponents. So there was a question about whether maybe he could do that in SEC play. And against the best team in the country, he went out and lit it up. Just really encouraged by how well he shoots from deep. He's shooting still over 50% from deep from beyond the arc this year. So there's some shooting struggles going on with this team, but I'm not worried about him. It's just really nice to have that kind of spark plug that you can go to off the bench when the offense maybe gets a little stagnant. He's ball dominant, but it's not like careless or like a little bit Golston like at times where it would get a little frustrating, some of the shots he was taking. He's pretty smart with the ball for the most part. I like most of the shots he takes. So I'll give Warwick credit for that. I really don't have a ton of other positive grades to give out. I actually thought Jacob Cruz was all right in this game, but he was playing mostly garbage time minutes.
His form is smooth, man. His form is
It
smooth.
would be nice if they can get him going while Grill kind of knocks off the rust and Bates maybe works through his shooting struggles. I did find it interesting, and maybe this is another quick concern, but like Gates kind of threw in the towel with his with the starters pretty early in this one. I think it was about 10 minutes left. He was like, "All right, I know we're playing." It almost felt like all right, I know we're playing Auburn, but you guys are giving me nothing. And he just let Tamar Bates and Mark Mitchell and a few other starters just watch the last like 8 to 10 minutes of this game or so. T.O. Barrett, Honor Boateng, I believe. Who else was out there? Cruz was out there. Warwick was out there for a while. A couple other guys rotated in and out. They played very, very, like you could tell there was a ton of effort with how they were playing, and they were getting under Auburn's skin a bit, like because Auburn starters were totally taking their foot off the gas pedal, and Mizzou chipped into the lead. They got under their skin a little bit. They got Auburn. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Baker Mazzara, or maybe it was Chadwell. They had a tech late in the game, so kind of nice to see the younger guys playing that hard late. Marcus Allen, like you said, the first 4 minutes of the second half were a disaster for everyone. Marcus Allen in particular did not have a good few minutes. Other than that, I thought he was pretty good. He did a few good things in the first half. He sank a three. You know, he had 5 boards. He did his best against. He did what I think anyone else could have prayed, like pretty much what you could have hoped for against Janai Broom. It was just an impossible ask, and he made the most he could out of it. So I'll give credit to those few guys. Most of the rest of it, though, is just kind of bury the tape type of game. There's not much you can take from it.
This is the last thing I'll ask before we do indeed bury the tape. And Kenny, first of all, I want to double down and agree on your point. 8 of 22 on layup attempts. That is unacceptable. That needs to be better for sure. There's some finishing through contact problems. And I think you're going to have some of those games with guys like Bates and Mitchell who do take it to the rim a lot, but you got to be more efficient there for me. But the thing I want to ask about, I know Auburn obviously shot the ball incredibly well, 57% from the field, 48% from three. They were 10 of 21, which is just absurd. Like Payton said, with the Avengers of college basketball. But Missouri, the one thing I did notice, they forced 16 Auburn turnovers and had 13 steals. This team, I think, is ranked like 3rd or 4th in the country in steals per game. How impressed were you about some of that perimeter defense stuff? I know they didn't capitalize on a ton of it. I feel like, 15 points off turnovers, I'd expect that to be a little higher when you force 16 of them. But, 13 steals as a team, that's been something that's sustained from non-con. To me, that seems pretty promising going forward. I don't know if you guys agree based on what you saw.
Yeah, that was literally, I think that was my main point when we were talking about what stats stood out to us. And I was looking at it like how many of these guys were averaging more than 1.5 through non-conference play. There was a lot. And it was just like, is this sustainable? Maybe they'll take a step back because you're facing actual like SEC competition. This is probably the best SEC we've seen in the past 5 years, just how many ranked teams there are. And they're still putting it forward even in a game where they lost by like 16 points. I think that's a very positive sign moving forward. And even with, Anthony Robinson having 0 in this game, and he's been the guy that's been leading the team in them, they still had 13. Like that's pretty impressive.
Peyton, are you in agreement?
Yeah, I mean, because I'm pretty sure I've said I don't expect that to really continue. I think I straight up said they're not going to be able to do that against Auburn. So I was wrong about that. Unfortunately, not much else went their way, but that would be really huge if they can keep those steals up. Because I'll tell you what, if they go out and force 13 steals and get a few more points off turnovers, like I think they'll be able to when they're playing not Auburn. If they go out and do that against a lot of these mid-tier SEC teams, they're going to win plenty of them. Like if you go out and do that Tuesday night against LSU, you'll win that game. I really believe that. I think the shooting will come around again. Auburn had a few too many open looks in the first half. In the second half, they were just destroyed. I mean, it was some of the threes they were making were ungodly, like packed with the devil threes. It was unbelievable.
That is what Bruce Pearl has. You didn't hear that from me though.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on this game, the 8 for 22 layups mark, obviously it has to be better. Again, you got to just keep in perspective who's down there in the paint. I mean, that's the best player in the country. So I think they'll have plenty of other better nights. I think Mark Mitchell will have better nights. Mark Mitchell was red hot coming into this game. He just kind of ran into a brick wall named Janai Broom. So kind of is what it is.
Well, speaking of mid-tier SEC teams, that's what Missouri's coming up against, a game that we have a little bit more expectations for on Tuesday, like Peyton hinted at. Another Tigers opponent for Mizzou. They play the LSU Tigers on Tuesday, 8 p.m. tip-off. Got the late game on SEC Network back in Columbia for Mizzou. And I'm excited about this one. And I think, to go back, like Kenny said, we were talking about trends. And I think when you're in early January, you're still kind of looking for that, is what trends can kind of stick and where the identity of your team really lies. And I'm curious to see how that kind of emerges against, like Peyton said, a mid-tier SEC team. This LSU team is 11-3. Newsflash, every SEC team has been great in non-conference play. They lost to Pitt and SMU in non-con, and then they did lose their first SEC game to Vanderbilt over the weekend. So the Tigers, shoot, that didn't work. LSU and Missouri are both trying to get on the board in SEC play. I'll give you guys a quick snapshot of LSU, and then you can kind of give what you're looking for based on that if you so choose. Ken Pom, LSU is ranked number 60 in the country. They're number 90 in offensive efficiency, number 48 in defensive efficiency. One stat I noted from there, they're 9th in the country in opponent effective field goal percentage. Teams are shooting 43% from the field and just 28.6% from three against LSU this season. So not exactly the best opponent win for a Missouri team that kind of wants to get right from three. Number 73 in Torvik. A couple other stats. They're 25th in rebounding. They grab about 40 per game, mostly on the defensive end. They're 16th in blocks. They average around 5.5 per game. Damian Collins, their forward, is their best blocker at 1.8. And then the player I wanted to point out, Cam Carter, their leading scorer, very productive, 17 points a game, about 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal and a half per game. What are you guys looking for based on that? Based on what you saw against Auburn, what do you want to see from Mizzou? And I'm feeling this game should be a win. I think on my picks, I forecasted this is a win for Mizzou. What are you guys looking for on Tuesday night against LSU?
What am I looking for? I'm looking for Missouri's first SEC win since 2023. I think for pretty much any path to even being on the bubble, this is a game that has to be a non-negotiable win. LSU, they've dealt with a few injuries. Guys have been banged up a little bit. I think you absolutely need to be able to defend home court against a team like LSU. Like you said, Nolan, everyone in the SEC has been ridiculous, but when you're kind of in this middle to lower tier of the SEC, these are games you have to go out and defend your home court in. I gave them grace against Auburn. They're going to get none against LSU. I think this is a team that Missouri has to beat. Like you said, Cam Carter, kind of a bucket, 17 points a game. Not the most efficient ever, but I mean, 88% from the free throw line. He's pretty dangerous offensive player for them. One thing I noticed about LSU as well, and this was pure box score watching. I didn't watch the game film against Vanderbilt or anything like that. They're not a super deep team. They're kind of the antithesis of Missouri, I'd say, because, like you said, they defend the three well. Missouri's kind of content to leave some shooters open every now and again. Against Vanderbilt, they only played 4 guys off the bench. Dennis Gates is just shielding his eyes, covering his ears, hearing that. And only 2 made buckets off their bench against Vanderbilt. So that's maybe an advantage for Missouri there. I'd keep an eye out for that. Jordan Sears, their second leading scorer. Someone on Missouri will know Jordan Sears quite well. That would be Jacob Cruz. He was teammates with Jordan Sears last year at UT Martin. They were both very, very efficient scorers last year for the Skyhawks. Now playing in the SEC as rivals. So we'll see how it all lines up. I like this matchup for Missouri. I think it's got to be a win. I don't know if Jalen Reed is healthy again or not. He missed a few games with an injury. That'll be a big one to watch. But again, I think Missouri has to get this one. It's got to be. I know it's asking a lot, asking them to win an SEC game the last 2 years, but this is just got to be one you get.
What do you like, Kenny, about LSU?
Yeah, I think too, just real quick about, just winning that game. It's like, I don't even want to say like knocking the rust off, but like once you finally get that one, it's just behind you.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of new players on this team. A lot of those guys didn't really have to deal with this last year. And, but there's younger guys on this team that dealt with that, and they've taken a step forward this year. And once you get that one, then they'll start following. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Sound maybe kind of, not like the best, answer, but I think, one of the biggest things you want to see that defense kind of come into the second game and just kind of pair well nicely with improved shooting rates and percentages. You have a couple guys in the starting lineup that are averaging a little bit over 2 turnovers a game and continue to keep that steal rate high. And a bunch of guys that are going to pick up blocks, but there is an opportunity there to poke them and just kind of put up a better offensive performance.
I would like to see them get to the free throw line against this LSU defense if it is a team that's going to run you off the 3-point line. I know they also got a decent big in there, like I said, in Collins, but they're pretty guard heavy. Also, I can provide some insight on the Jalen Reed situation. He tore his ACL. He's out for the season.
I just saw that.
They did not have to worry about Jalen Reed, but yeah, I would like to see them.
That's tough. Sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. I would like to see them get to the free throw line a little bit more and just maybe big games from Mitchell and Bates. I feel like you take advantage maybe against some of those one-on-one matchups. LSU's not, like I said, the biggest team, even if they're okay at protecting the rim. They're not Janai Broom, so you should see a little bit more success there. And yeah, I want to win. I completely agree with Payton. I'm going to be watching this game with a lot more scrutiny, I think, than against Auburn. Because this is really a game where you see how Missouri stacks up in this really, really good SEC. So we'll see. We're all going W for Missouri. That's our formal prediction. I won't make you do a score.
I think the streak dies at 21 if you
All
include SEC tournament games. I think they will get a win here.
Oh man, the Mizzou losing streak can drink. That's absurd.
I believe I saw this. The record for most consecutive conference losses in SEC play is 27. Okay. I don't think that counts the
tournament
games. So that would mean Missouri is still 8 away. If Missouri breaks that record, I might retire from the show forever.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. The epitome of Mizzou's hell last year, I rediscovered it again. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone about Ole Miss last year. Ole Miss last year in basketball started 13-0 and missed the NCAA tournament because they lost, I think, 9 of their last 11 games. Both of those 2 wins were against Mizzou. They lost every single game. That felt like the epitome of I looked at their schedule and saw that, and it just made me mad. I was trying to make fun of Ole Miss, and instead it just got me mad at Mizzou. So
God, awesome. Just please win an SEC game. I can't take it anymore.
So there's your hoops talk. There's your LSU preview, Auburn recap. Once again, that game 8 p.m. on Tuesday on SEC Network. Tune in. I'm excited to watch and hopefully see Mizzou get their first win of SEC play. That's our Mizzou segment. Good roundup, boys. I'm excited for these two DBs to come in the fold. Excited for we're churning towards spring football now and all that stuff. I'm excited for the roster to finally just be settled and I can focus on who's there instead of who they might get. But yeah, good times hopefully coming from Mizzou football and a first win hopefully coming for Mizzou men's hoops for us. And the rest of this show, we move on. Let's finish it with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. We will kick it over. I will kick it over to Kenny for Ken's Sports Shorts. Kenny, you got the basic quiz. This is the first time in a while you've done this with me and Payton. Normally, this is our move when you're gone and we need a quiz.
I think we did 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that time is a flat circle. That's a long time ago for me. We've got the Daily Dozen.
Yep. We'll start it off with the NFL in the top left corner. Week 18 of the 2021 season, the Raiders and this team played an overtime game where if they tied, both would have made the playoffs. Instead, the Raiders won on a last-second field goal. The answer is the Chargers.
This is the Chargers.
Yep. One of the more fun Sunday night games I've ever watched.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember having that in I think I had a family dinner, and I made them turn that game on because it was that insane of an ending.
That's very interesting, Knowlton. Moving on.
In 2014, the Chicago Bulls big man won Defensive Player of the Year and finished fourth in MVP voting.
2014, this would be Joakim Noah, wouldn't it?
I have no idea.
Correct.
I can't do that.
Soccer, Landon Donovan appeared in 253 games for this MLS team from 2005 to 2016.
Do you guys know it? Good job, Payton.
I'm a big LA Galaxy fan.
Geography, Louisiana borders 3 states by land, Texas, Mississippi, and this state.
Golden Boot, Kenny. Arkansas.
Woo, pig. Don't be mashed up for our friends on the YouTube.
That on this show
I'm
ever
bleeping
again.
that.
I think that's Timothy Chalamet.
It's getting bleeped out.
Just guess too. So
I don't know. Chain restaurants. While this fast food chain is more known for burgers, some of their locations offered a subsection Mexican food known as the green burrito and red burrito in certain regions. Y'all know this one?
I don't.
Chipotle.
I believe it's Hardee's.
Did you say Chipotle?
Yeah, they got burgers, don't they?
Boom!
At Chipotle.
There was one in Colombia. There was a Hardee's green peppers on the.
I'm more stuck on Payton thinking.
I've never been to Hardee's in my life. I'm not gonna lie. So
In 2009, or since 2009, this Food Network game show has had 4 contestants compete in a 3-round contest where they incorporate unusual combinations of ingredients into dishes.
I don't know.
Top Chef? No, that's not on the Food Network. That's not on the Food Network. Don't guess that. Don't guess that.
Just guess it. None of us know.
No, it's not on the Food Network. We can think of this.
Okay, well, I don't have any other.
Iron Chef isn't bad. That isn't a bad guess. It's a lot of chef name foods.
BR Chef?
Yeah, do that one.
Wrong.
Okay.
Movies. Following 2 men in their 40s who take a trip to wine country, Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church starred in this 2004 dramedy that won a Golden Globe for Best Picture. I have the Golden Globes on right now.
Oh, that is, they are tonight, or they are Sunday night when we're recording this. Oh man,
This Brokeback Mountain.
No.
I know. I don't know. Can we come back? Can we come back to it? Okay. Music. Man, it's a hot one, 7 inches from the midway sun. Well, I hear you whisper, and the words melt everyone.
Unwritten.
Santana song.
Oh, that helps a lot.
I don't know.
Boom! It's Smooth by Santana.
Wow.
I saw him in concert. Okay, I'm just going to give up. I don't know the movie one.
I don't either.
Okay. That was the
television one was Chopped. I feel like
we could have got that one, you guys. We could have got that one. You guys have seen Chopped.
Oh, I was right. It is Timothy Chalamet. I just didn't know the other person.
Who's the other one?
I didn't know either, so.
Adrian Brody.
Oh, Adrian Brody.
And the movie is
Sideways.
Never seen it.
Nope. We did pretty good for that.
Kenny did pretty good for that. He guessed 4 of them.
Good job, Kenny. We did good on the sports ones. That's our forte anyway. Tigers in the Wild for our next quick hits segment, as usual. Kenny, back to you. What's your Tiger in the Wild?
The day Stephen Hall announced his commitment and signed with the Missouri Tigers, the Tigers also lost a cornerback in freshman Jaron Sensabaugh. Final portal entry, the sixth one from the class of 2024. Pretty quickly, though, he signed and committed to North Carolina State here on Sunday. So the next day, he mentioned that right when he entered the portal, a coach there that I believe he already had a relationship with reached out, said, we want you to come here. He told On3 Sports that the affiliate there for North Carolina State, and the rest was history. He has his new home.
Oh
Payton.
boy, what a disaster that 2024 class has turned out to be. 6 guys have left already, and all 6 of them had their new home in like a day. Good luck, Jaron.
His dad also played in the Research Triangle for North Carolina.
UNC, yep.
There you go. Yeah, that is a tough look for the 2024 class. We'll move swiftly on. Payton, what's your Tiger in the Wild?
My Tiger in the Wild is going to be 2023 Burlsworth winner, Heisman 8th place finisher, and most importantly, Cotton Bowl champion, Cody Schrader. He was active for his first ever NFL game today. He had 1 carry for 3 yards in a 30-25 loss the Los Angeles Rams took against the Seattle Seahawks. So didn't get the win, but he did. He was active for the first time. From D2 all the way to the NFL, he had an NFL carry.
Congrats to Cody Schrader. I'm excited. Do you guys think he sticks with the Rams? I think he's got the
McVay apparently had a lot of nice things to say about him, and we know how he is in practice and working on everything. So I would not shock me if he sticks around for a long time. Oh, Cody Schrader also had a 6-yard catch. I didn't see that.
I was waiting for
That's
you
awesome.
to catch that. Well, I was kind of just trying to filter and wait till Payton notices.
How about that? Cody
9
Schrader.
total yards. Love it for Cody Schrader. Love it. All right, my Tiger in the Wild. My Tiger in the Wild is going to, I guess, still technically a current Tiger, but it's Tyson Ellison, of course, of Mizzou and KOMU fame. If you follow him on Twitter, which I would highly suggest, he is both an informative and entertaining follow. He was a linebacker at Mizzou, went to Rockbridge, I believe. Was it not Rockbridge?
I thought he went to Boonville.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It was Boonville. Sorry, Tyson. Boonville, not Rockbridge.
Sorry, Boonville.
Yeah, sorry, Boonville. He was on the Mizzou football team and also worked for KOMU, of course, the TV station. All of our Columbia resident listeners will be well aware. But he had this great tweet. So he was obviously on the team in the J school as well. And he made the formal announcement that he's making the full transfer to KOMU. Said Ellison will switch positions from the inside linebacker position to the sports desk, I think Tuesdays at 9, anchor and reporter. So very fun. He had some great tweets I remember throughout the season. I would see he had a good one. He did the Jamal Adams, I guess they cut me video a couple of days ago. That was pretty funny, and did his career stats at Mizzou football. And now he's going to be a KOMU anchor. So be exciting to watch his career in front of or behind the camera. And, he did the Chase 2 Dreams thing, of course, Drinkwitz's mantra. So pretty fun. And, best of luck to Tyson on all his endeavors. But his Twitter is very enjoyable. I was having fun following along.
I think he also did the sports reporting for the Mizzou UMass game. So that was cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Report on your own team.
Went out a Music City Bowl champ. There he is with the trophy if you're watching on the YouTube.
Very exciting.
His dad's on staff. His brother's a class of 2026 recruit. Been on a couple of visits. Don't think he has an official offer from Mizzou, but maybe he walks on just like his brother did in 2 years. Or
he walks onto the KOMU sports desk and they just keep the legacy going there. You got 2 avenues. So congrats to Tyson. Best of luck with everything for him. Headlines of the week. Kenny, what's your headline this week?
We'll talk about losing consecutive SEC games. Missouri women's basketball is still struggling in conference play. Dropped their 14th consecutive SEC game on Sunday. At this point, Payton, as our resident women's basketball reporter, former reporter, retired reporter, I guess could be your title. What do you make of it? What do you make of the program? It's just what's going on now?
It's just been a downward slide ever since Cunningham left. That's really the only way to put it. They've had promising players come through the door. I mean, it's not like they're pulling in nobodies on the recruiting trail. I mean, they kind of did portal wise because they have a lame duck head coach this year. But it's just they haven't been able to develop anyone. They still have the same problems offensively as they did 4 years ago. They turn the ball over so much. They don't have enough consistent scorers. I mean, they were just totally punchless in their game against Alabama. I mean, it was like I think it was 66-49. In an era that has just seen women's basketball skyrocket in popularity, it's kind of discouraging to see the state that the program is in. And I mean, we all know where it's headed. Everyone, top to bottom, Robin Pinchton, I'm sure knows where it's going. There will be a new coach there next year. Hopefully some more optimism can be built off that, but they're just kind of spinning their wheels at this point. I mean, the SEC is such a vaunted conference for women's basketball. I mean, they had an unreal amount of teams reach the tournament last year, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. They just don't have much of a chance right now. I mean, they lost games in non-con to Vermont, Norfolk State, and Oral Roberts. I mean, the level of competition they're facing now every night is going to be a lot harder than those types of teams. So,
yeah, not great. They did start off conference play with number 2 South Carolina and an Alabama team that is ranked in the top 20. So they also didn't get very much favoritism from the schedule. They go to Georgia next. And Payton, you hit the nail on the head. They had 20 turnovers against Alabama and shot 25% from 3. So that will not win you games.
That sounds like something that was copy and pasted from a gamer I wrote 2 years ago. Truly. I mean, it's the same exact thing.
At Georgia next. Yeah, it is going to be kind of weird following the rest of this season, just knowing what has been like, knowing that Robin's gone. And it's just a weird, like Payton said, spinning the wheels here. That's a good way to put it. But rough for Mizzou women's basketball. Payton, what is your headline this week?
My headline is Bucks rally to win NFC South. Late catch gives Evans 1,000 yards or 1K yards, they wrote there. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won their 4th consecutive NFC South title. But what I really want to kind of discuss is the Mike Evans catch, because coming into this game, he needed 85 yards to reach 1,000. And the Saints had their last ditch effort drive go for nothing. Like, it was over. The Bucks could have just kneeled it out and secured their playoff spot. And instead, they run a quick out route on 1st and 10, and Evans catches it and gains 8 yards. He was at 995 at the time. So he finishes the year with 1,003 yards. And I don't know, man. I kind of hate this a lot. I kind of hate getting it like that. I think that just, and look, I won't blame them too much, because there was also a contract incentive tied up into this. So he gets $3 million, I believe is what it was, for 1,000 yards. So I won't get that mad, actually, because of that, because they did it for that. But if this was like an empty stat thing that they did, there is no way in the world I would have been okay with it. It's his 11th straight year with 1,000 yards, which ties him with Jerry Rice for the most in NFL history. But if you look at every one of those yard totals, there are some stinker ones in there. This is like the 4th one he's had that has been like less than 20 yards over 1,000. So I know I'm going to sound like a cranky old man, but
hating, man.
I gotta stay consistent. I gotta stay consistent, because
he's been a Mike Evans hater since we started this show, by the way. Well, long before that, actually.
I've cooled on the Mike Evans hate, but this I don't love. Like, I made fun of the Ravens when they did that run with Lamar Jackson.
You did do that, yes.
I made fun of Detroit Mercy when they tried to get a sham tournament together to get Antoine Davis to break Pete Maravich's record. I'm going to stay consistent with this. I think running plays you don't have to get empty stats in real life like it's a video game is a little silly.
I
He also
guess,
missed a
man.
couple of games this season, so that kind of plays into why he was so close to 1,000. Probably would have been way over it if he actually played in those 4 that he missed.
You're a hater, Peyton.
I know I am, but I
You're a
got to
hater.
stay consistent on my position on this.
I guess I can respect you for that. I thought it was cool, but
I'll give them
whatever.
this. Like, it's not like it wasn't just empty stats. I'll give them that. There was a legitimate monetary contract incentive for him getting it. So I get it. If he didn't get that little out route, he's $3 million poorer. So whatever. I can respect it enough for that.
Let him say he's the biggest hater. All right, my headline of the week, sticking in the NFL. So obviously it was week 18, so a lot of big news. Obviously, teams making the playoffs, and then the teams at the bottom making some decisions. The Patriots did not waste too long. My headline reads: Patriots fire Gerard Mayo after finishing 4-13 in lone season. He tied their worst or their shortest tenure in franchise history when Rod Rust, Jesus, went 1-15 in 1990. Kenny Payton, I have some candidates that I wrote down that I would like you guys to evaluate to take the Patriots head coaching job, if I may.
Sure.
All right, my first one, Matt Patricia.
All right, that's a bad start, Knowlton. How about you go to the next one?
All right, next one, Bill O'Brien.
That's a good one.
Great year
He's
at
in
BC.
Boston right now. He wouldn't have to move.
Third one, Brian Flores. More ties to the Patriots.
Yeah, and I mean he's a legit coaching candidate everywhere, so that's a good one.
I was trying to get a couple good ones in there. Josh McDaniels, longtime Belichick disciple.
Kenny, don't shake your head yes at that one. Come on.
He was a good OC. He was a very good OC.
We're talking about a head coach here.
Yeah, he was loved when he was a head coach in Denver. He loved even more when he was with the Raiders. Remember, everyone loved him. They actually let him go home early because they loved him so much. He was doing a great job. You didn't mention Eric Link.
Sorry, Eric Link. Thoughts?
I would add Blake Baker to this list. I've heard his wife's cousin's brother's friend has
played soccer for a year at UMass.
Once visited on a soccer tournament trip there. So
my last one I wrote
Blake Baker up there.
My last one I
spoiler
wrote
alert,
down.
this is all satirical for anyone wondering.
My last one I wrote down is James Franklin if he wins the Natty with Penn State.
It's pretty funny you didn't put the person that's gonna get the job on the list.
I did that on purpose. In case you didn't notice, my first name was Matt Patricia.
I mean,
it's going to go to Vrabel, right?
That's a good candidate. I would put Joe Judge on there too.
It's Vrabel's job, right?
Yes, it's Mike Vrabel.
Maybe Dable too.
Dayball.
Ryan Dable, that's a good one.
Ryan Day, big win over Oregon. Not born on third base. Maybe the Patriots could use a coach born on third base. Get all the love from Robert Kraft. I mean,
I think that was supposed to be Gerard Mayo.
Oh, tough look. All right, that's our NFL talk for week 18. I'm sure we'll have some playoff things as the playoffs get underway. They're set now too. So is the draft order. Figure out where Luther Burden's going to go. All right, Peyton, you got a joke for us to finish the show.
I sure do. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, what did one piece of tape say to the other? I don't think you're going to like this one.
Ew, sticky.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's stick together.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a
layup line one.
Yeah, that's a warm up joke. All right, enjoy the LSU
I got
game.
one.
We will have more football.
I got one.
Whoa!
Hold up.
Okay, I want to hear it.
If you're watching on the YouTube, you'll see this. What are these?
Pants?
No. End the episode right now. No.
What do you call these kind of pants, Jack?
Don't.
Am I gonna have to edit this out?
No.
You're
what
not.
kind of pants are these?
Cargo pants?
Cargo beep beep. Are you okay?
Goodbye. We'll see you on the next show.